So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Brampton Observatory channel. It's been a long time since I've been up and running. There's a lot of different reasons for that, but we're back for tonight. We had a good stretch of actual clear weather and clear skies since probably, I think, Thursday. Unfortunately, I had some other obligations and wasn't able to get out. But here we are, it's the weekend, and we are live tonight for a while. Had to do a little bit of testing in the observatory tonight and some upgrades and things like that. So here we are. We're going to go through a bunch of different objects that are available to us through the evening. And right now we're looking at IC 1318, which is a nebula. And we're gonna see if we can get a little bit of better resolution as the night gets a little darker. It's still a little bit light out, so anyway, I'm gonna shut up for a few minutes and move through a few objects, and if you have any comments or if there is anybody joining us online live, you can certainly ask me any questions. IC 1318, by the way, is the Butterfly Nebula. We're going to look for something a little more interesting. The Pelican is an interesting nebula to look at. So let's have a look at the Pelican Nebula, which is IC 5070. And we'll probably do a longer exposure on that. But we're going to set up some guiding here as well. We're not guiding yet on the scope. And let's get some guiding going here. So the first thing we do when we're guiding is getting calibration stars, and it'll find a bunch of different guide stars using this software. And guide stars just help to keep the telescope oriented to where it's supposed to be on the sky. Right now it's going through a variety of different steps that it has to do to prepare to guide the telescope as we go through the evening. And on target so that we get longer exposures. Oh, a satellite just passed through. This is one of the biggest problems of imaging these days. There are so many satellites in the sky with all of the Starlink constellation satellites and all the other satellites. Frequently you get these streaks running across your image, and the software can look for these and take these out, or you can do it manually. However, it is a bit of a pain. So right now it is clearing backlash on the mount, and we should get to guiding very shortly. We have dark skies tonight, so the moon is not at issue. I should say darker skies because, well, we're still in heavily light polluted skies. Right now we're in Bortle 8 sky, and that's because there's no moon out tonight, but usually it's Bortle 9 around here. The Bortle scale is simply a scale that measures light pollution. The higher the number, the worse the light pollution. And it's still setting up its guiding here. And once that's done, we'll do a long exposure and see what we get. So it's going to start to guide now. And you can see it's found its guide star, which is locked in down here. It actually uses multiple stars to guide. You can see them all sort of circled here. And we'll start to see the guiding. It usually takes a couple of cycles through the mount to get the guiding really more accurate. And right now you can see it's guiding in right ascension, indicated by the blue line at the top, and here comes declination. And we should get an idea momentarily where our guiding is going to be. So 3.9 is a good start. It may not hold at that, but not bad at all actually. 3.6, 3.4, and we have, yeah, that's a pretty good flat line at the moment. Your guiding typically is better in dark skies, and when it's less hot and humid, there's not as much distortion in the atmosphere. So let's take a longer exposure. Let's take 120-second exposure. So 2 minutes, and see what we get here. Just checking every once in a while to see if anyone does hop online with us tonight. And I do apologize for not being on more often, but like I said, there were a lot of things going on in life and work and that sort of thing, so unfortunately I was not able to get on live. Hope to do some solar as well in the next little while. Although I don't have a solar scope per se, I do have a white light filter for the scope, which is the scope that's being used right now to guide the main telescope, which is the Gear 60, made by Steve Malya out at Ontario Telescope, and it's called Starfield. That's his telescope making company. And I am just amazed by the guiding here. What dark skies can do for your guiding. It's, was down to 2.9 just a minute ago. Alright, we got our first image coming up. And wow, looks good. So this is the Pelican Nebula. I guess people think it looks like a pelican. It's a pretty large region, actually. Let's see if we can darken it up just a notch or two here. Nope, liked it better before. Yeah, that didn't work out too well. Let's fix that. There we go. So yeah, the Pelican Nebula, it, as they say, looks like a pelican. We are using a filter, H-alpha filter, on the telescope tonight. It's an NBZ filter. It's actually a really good filter. Looking at buying another multi-band filter, that works best with the Celestron F2 telescope that I have here, which is a RASA telescope, which stands for Rowe Ackerman Schmidt Astrograph. This telescope is specifically for imaging. It has a fast F2 ability on it, so that you can gather more light in a shorter period of time. So longer exposures are not necessary for a lot of these images. So yeah, that's the Pelican Nebula. Pretty neat. I haven't seen it for a while, or haven't imaged it for a while. Let's see what else we have here that would be interested in looking at. Not too many galaxies left. We've kind of passed by galaxy season now, so we are definitely into more nebula season. Here's one of my favorites, the North American Nebula. And so let's have a look at the North American Nebula. It's still rising. You can see it's not reached the top of the meridian yet. So let's have a look at that. All of these targets that we've been looking at are actually in the same or close to the same region of the sky, so the telescope doesn't really have to move very much. So we've got centered up here. So let's do 180 seconds on this one. This is a really nice nebula. And we have our camera cooled tonight to minus 9.9 degrees Celsius. And that keeps the noise down. So you will see a lot of noise in some of these images. When you process them after you've taken a bunch of the images, say you took 50 or 100 images of this target, you would stack them all together and do some post-processing, and a lot of that noise would be eliminated. You can also shoot what are known as darks and bias frames and flat frames that will eliminate a lot of the noise and other artifacts that may be on the lens of the camera or on the CCD of the camera, or in this case actually the CMOS of the camera. So I use the ASI ZWO 2600 MC Pro color. A lot of people think you should use mono and then change filters for every set of images you do, and then you stack all those filtered images together. I'm a little bit lazy in that regard, so I used to do that. Now I have this camera, which is basically called a one-shot color camera, and so there's no need to do that component, although you can add other filters that are specific wavelengths of gas they'll pick up, like SHO filters, O2 filters, and others that pick up other gases more prevalently. But again, for me and the work I'm doing and the research I'm doing, this kind of works really well. And occasionally I will change filters. Sometimes I'll put a light pollution filter on, other times a few different filters I own. This one is really designed for picking up H-alpha, so hydrogen alpha regions, which is what you see in this reddish color here. So it looks like we're going to get our image here, in just a second. It's just processing now. And ta-da! So that is the North American Nebula, which, because of its position on the sky, kind of looks like North America turned on its side. So this way. Down here would be the Gulf of Mexico. And yeah, so pretty cool looking nebula. Let's turn that off for a second, the histogram, so you can see the whole thing, and we will clear that away. So you can see it's quite a interesting region, and really nice to image this. You can see thicker areas of gas down along here, and a lot of, well, just countless numbers of stars here in the image. And of course, again, if you were to stack enough of these images together, it would look much cleaner than it does on your screen here. So that is the North American Nebula. Let's have a look and see what else we got here tonight. There is a galaxy up. I'm not sure how well we'll see it. This is NGC 6946, as it's known as the Fireworks Galaxy. So let's have a look at the Fireworks Galaxy and see how good an image we can get from that. It actually will move the telescope, as you can see, a little bit further away from its position that it was at, looking more towards the north. So let's try, I can see it faintly here, but let's do 180-second exposure, so we'll see how that looks. And we still have clear skies out, so that's good. I have another computer here that you can't really see, but it has software by Pegasus Astro on it, and a hardware on the telescope that measures sky quality. So right now, still looking good, as it was supposed to for tonight. Look good. Most of the evening, it was a little cloudy this afternoon, so I was kind of concerned that we may not get on tonight. But this is an ideal time, as I said, for sky and especially light polluted areas when the moon is basically out of sight. And I think we just passed or are about to pass new moon. Actually, I think it's on the 22nd new moon. So, but the moon is set already, so it's way out of our sight, so that makes the skies considerably darker. Although the moon is a really neat target to image and to view optically. As I said, this telescope, there's no way to put an eyepiece on it. It's strictly for imaging. And if you looked at any of my other videos with a tour of the observatory, you would see that particular telescope. And again, at the back, you're able to put on an attachment and put an eyepiece on that, but on this telescope that is not possible. And we're about 30 seconds, just under 30 seconds away. Our guiding is, again, really great at 2.8 right now, which means we could get a very long exposure without the stars starting to bend or get out of shape. We have a low gain on right now, or unity gain as it's known, so that's about 100. And here it comes. Okay, so we did get a satellite through the image on the top here, but you can see the galaxy. We'll enhance that a little bit. It's a reddish color, again, because we're using an H-alpha filter, so we're seeing the more intense H-alpha regions of the galaxy. I could also shoot this without a filter and then put the filtered images and the unfiltered images together, and would get a slightly different color spectrum of the galaxy. So that's at 180 seconds, and I believe you can see part of the star cluster up here. Could be part of the double cluster, actually, which is an amazing image to take, and in an eyepiece it looks spectacular. So I am tempted here, and I do say tempted, to do a slightly longer exposure of this galaxy. Let's bring that up a little bit. Yeah, so you can see it darkens it up a little bit. You can play with the histogram a bit and get a slightly darker image. So I'm going to do a 5-minute exposure on this galaxy and see if we can bring out a little more detail. You can see the core of the galaxy right here, and the spiral arms. And I can hear critters outside my observatory walking around. While it's doing that, I'm actually going to knock myself off here for just a second. There we go. And that way you can see a little more of the screen. And we've had, looks like 3 people pop by. So that's nice to see. Of course, if you can't watch live, you can always catch it on YouTube, and I do ask you to like the videos, which helps us get up higher in the algorithm so more people can see us. And it'd be great if you could subscribe to the channel. That also helps us out quite a bit. So we got about 174 seconds left. summertime actually is more galaxy season, and you can see a lot more galaxies during the summer. Now we're a little bit limited in what we can see. I think we can still see Andromeda. Should be able to. So we'll see if that we can have a look at the Andromeda galaxy a little later. Have to look at where it is in the sky at the moment. And we got about just about a minute to go here, and to see what we get out of a 5-minute exposure. You'll be able to see the difference. Hopefully, we probably will have to play with the histogram a bit because after 5 minutes, a lot more light will have been let in on the camera. Still some great guiding. It's up a little bit to 3.4. And we got about 5 seconds, and then we'll get our image. A little better, yeah. I mean, not spectacularly better with just one single image, but a little better. Yeah, let's there. So we can kind of lighten that up a bit. Oops, that would be a little too light. Bring that way though. Yeah. So that's a zoomed in a bit image of the galaxy and the surrounding stars. You can see this cluster of stars up here, and we can annotate. So this actually is part of the double cluster NG6939, and you can see the fireworks galaxy NG6946 here. So really neat picture of a galaxy. And this is a fairly distant galaxy, so definitely a target that you could find and image yourself, or perhaps see it through a little more powerful telescope. And I see our guiding has kind of gone up a little bit here, so could be a cloud or some high cloud passing by. So let's have a look for another target. Oops. Okay, so this is an interesting target actually. So the Cygnus Loop, which is the Veil Nebula, we won't get a really super image of that, but we're going to kind of go through the next three. So we're going to look at the Eastern Veil Nebula after that. So we're going to have a look first at the Cygnus Loop. Just want to check something out here. Yep, still good. And we've had some views. And our streaming quality is really good, so that's good to hear. And good to see. So it's centered up the target. And yeah, I can start to see a little bit of it. So we're going to do 180 seconds on this one. For the Cygnus loop, you can start to see some of the color. It may be hard because YouTube compresses video. So you may not see it as well on your screen as I can see on mine, but once we get an image here, you'll be able to see it pretty well. I'm just going to get that out of the way. If you are online and see us, break into the chat and say hello. It's nice to know I'm not alone out here in the night, in the dark. So while we're waiting for that image, again. Okay. So we've had 6 views, so I'm not sure if those people are still online. If they are, like I say, stop in, say hello. And we have a new subscriber, so great. And I'm not going to try and butcher your name here. It's you see my... Okay, never mind. Well, we have another subscriber, so that's always good. So we got about 55 seconds here till we get our image of the Cygnus loop, which is a very big target, and I'm not sure I'll get it. Well, I probably won't get it all in on this particular telescope. If I were to use the Gear 60, which is mounted on top, it's a bit of a wider field telescope than this one, so I would get more of that. And we're about 21 seconds away. Guiding is still pretty good. Okay, so our image is coming down now. Well, there we go. Actually, that was pretty good. You can see a lot of the regions of nebulosity. Definitely we can't get the whole Cygnus loop in on with this telescope, but we're getting quite a bit of it, and you can see the nebulosity throughout here, and over here you'll see the reddish end of it as well. So pretty good image. Of course, I would stack a lot of these together to get a much nicer image, and we're going to do that one night. We'll do what's called live stacking, and you'll see it's actually going to stack all the images together live, and you'll see how the results come in without any other processing, just the stack itself. I use a program called PixInsight and Photoshop actually to do a lot of the post-processing and clean up the image. So that's the Cygnus loop. So now we want to have a look actually at the Veil Nebula. So that's this guy down here. And it is part of the Cygnus loop, so we're going to go to that. And you can probably hear the telescope a bit in the background moving around. Didn't have very far to move. And it's centered the target. And you can start to see actually part of the Veil Nebula itself. So let's do 180 seconds on this guy. And I always call this the alien head because it reminds me of the head of the xenomorph from the movie Alien. And once we get a better image, you'll see why. One thing you do have to have when you're doing astrophotography or astronomy in general is a bit of patience, because it does take time. There are telescopes out now that are called smart telescopes, and those are like the C-Star made by ZWO, and then there's one called the Dwarf out there as well, and there's another one as well. These are sort of quick and easy telescopes. They set up, they align themselves. The one disadvantage that some of them have anyway is they can't equatorially track your target, so you're kind of limited to shorter exposures. But I have seen some really spectacular images with these telescopes. C-Star, which is made by a company called ZWO. They're in the $700 range. I think the C30 is about $575, and the newer C50, I think it's called, is about $785, somewhere in that range. And they're basically point and shoot telescopes. And you can use your telephone to actually download the images too, or I suppose an iPad as well. You just download the software for it, and yeah, I've seen some pretty neat images. In August, I was at one of the biggest star parties in Canada called Starfest. It's in Ayrton, Ontario. Really great time. Lots of great speakers up there as well. It usually runs through mostly the entire week, but it kind of officially gets kicked off on the Thursday afternoon and runs till Sunday. A lot of great speakers up there this year, as I said, and quite a crowd of people this year. People come and camp there in tents. We have people who come just in the daytime, others that come in trailers. And it looks like we're about to get our image. There you go. So that is the Veil Nebula. And if you kind of turn your head to the right side, if you're familiar with the movie Alien, tell me that doesn't look like the alien head. Seriously. It's quite cool. So you can see how colorful that nebula is. I'm just kind of looking on my phone to see. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So I'm just looking to see what the quality is like, because like I say, sometimes YouTube compresses video. Well, it does compress video, and you don't always get the best of images, but that one looks pretty darn good actually after 180 seconds for one single image without any kind of stacking or processing. And we also have the gain a little flatter. We could turn up the gain a bit. So yeah, Starfest, great thing every year. I recommend everybody go. There's no requirements on your level of knowledge of astronomy or anything. It's a fairly dark sky site. I think it's a Bortle 3, 4, somewhere around there. I'm told it used to be darker, but of course, light pollution is unfortunately kind of going everywhere. And even up there this year, I noticed a bit of sky glow. But if you do go to Starfest, kind of be prepared for potentially bad weather in terms of clouds or rain this year. Thursday night was really good. Friday, so-so. Saturday we kind of had clouds and a bit of drizzle, and then you're practically, well, you're done on Sunday because you're not there Sunday night. But the campsite is open all year round, so you can certainly probably book a time to go up there yourself and do some night sky observing, visual. There are visual astronomers up there. I did see a lot of these sea stars up there during the time I was there. So, as a matter of fact, just behind my trailer, there was, I think, a line of 5 or 6 of them up there. Just be aware, internet up there is kind of sketchy, to say the least. And the lesson I learned is a lot of these computerized telescopes all are broadcasting on the same frequency. So you're using the internet for the wireless component of them. And I had a lot of trouble with my signal dropping out. So this year, preparing hopefully for next year and some other dark sky sites, I bought a Starlink satellite dish that'll enable me to get internet and a strong internet, independent internet signal from all of the others out there using the same bandwidth and the same internet frequencies for their smart computers, or smart telescopes, I should say. So be aware of things like that. Again, be prepared. It can get quite dewy up there at night and damp. So always have a dew heater of some kind on your telescope, whether you're doing visual or imaging as well. So yeah, that's the Veiled Nebula, or as I like to call it, the alien head. This software has an interesting little button on it called Annotate. So when you hit Annotate, it basically just gives you information about the name of the object that you're looking at. And sometimes it'll help you to find a bunch of other objects in there that you didn't even know were in the area. And you can turn that off and on. And you can set up a crosshair if you're looking for something particular. And of course you have your histogram, and histogram is just a way of kind of darkening the image a little bit or lightening it up. So there you see it, it's a little darker here, and there is a lot of noise in the image, but in a final image that would all be gone. Alright, so that's the Veiled Nebula. So what else have we got here? There's the Flying Dragon. I don't think I've ever actually looked at this target before, but looks interesting. Flying Dragon Nebula. Then we have the Mothra Cluster. Well, let's have a look at the Flying Dragon. And it's a little bit of a slew for the telescope, not too much. And it's detected its target and centered. And Let's have a look at the histogram. So can't really see much of anything here. So let's down this to 120 seconds. So 2 minutes. And see what we can see after 2 minutes. If you are with us live, stop in and say hello. Don't be shy. I love to chat. So we got about 18 seconds left to see our dragon here. And we'll see what we get from the dragon. And this is the ta-da moment. Okay, that is pretty much indiscernible, so that would definitely require a longer exposure. It looks like it's a pretty faint target, so I don't think we're gonna bother to, well, you know what, do we want to go 180 seconds to see if we can see it a little better? I think not. We'll come back to that one when we have a little more time. It is a fairly faint target, apparently. I had never reviewed it before. So, and what else we got here? The Flying Bat Nebula and the Squid. That one actually looks pretty interesting. And then we have the Cocoon Nebula coming up. So I'm not sure. I've seen pictures of this one. Again, this is one I've never viewed myself. So let's see if we can see that one. I've seen pictures of the Squid Nebula, and it looks pretty spectacular. And we still have clear sky. So that's a good thing. And we've had 9 viewers online. Come on, guys or ladies, say hello. So I kind of see a little bit on my screen here. So I think we're going to do 180 seconds on this one because I have a feeling this could be a fainter target as well. Guiding is a little better on this side. And as I mentioned earlier, and I hate to keep saying it, but if you do like the videos that we're doing and what we're doing here, if you would hit the like button, that would be wonderful of you. And if you can subscribe to the channel, that would also be fantastic, would help us out a lot. And like I say, into winter here in Canada, not quite there yet. We're just kind of starting fall, and still a lot of leaves on the trees, but they are definitely, as we move toward the end of September, starting to change color in a lot of places. And soon they will all drop, and we will be into the winter months. The observatory does operate all winter. As a matter of fact, winter time is one of the better times to observe, because the atmosphere, when the weather is good, is a lot clearer than it is in the summertime, with all the humidity and atmospheric distortion, which affects what we call in astronomy the seeing. By the way, I have my Starfest hat on, swag from Starfest, and my Starfest hoodie on tonight. I was trying another microphone earlier. I'm using kind of a boom mic here, which I had hoped to get away from, but it was a Bluetooth mic. And I'm using a bit of an older Lenovo computer here for all my processing and software. And it doesn't really handle Bluetooth. Well, it doesn't have Bluetooth at all. I have an external antenna on it for Bluetooth, and unfortunately it didn't work too well, but hopefully I'll be able to get another computer going here in the not too distant future. So we got about 13 seconds until the target comes up, which is the squid and the flying bat. And will this be the ta-da moment? Maybe. Yeah, okay. So off to the left side of the screen, you can kind of, I'm just gonna get rid of the guiding there for a minute so you can see better. And we'll dump out of the histogram a bit. This is a target that I think you would have to spend a fair amount of time to get a good image of. It's definitely, which way is it pointed? Yeah, toward the east. And it looks pretty cool, but again, like, this was 180-second exposure with an f2 telescope, which is a lot. That would be on a like f10 telescope, probably would require 15-20 minutes or more exposure to get the same level of image out of it. Again, stacking these would be a big help, and then cleaning up the image in the background, background noise I should say, would be extremely helpful as well. So yeah, it's annotated the whole thing actually. There we go. We can zoom in a little bit, and you can see nebulosity all up through here. An interesting target. May come back to that and do some imaging on it eventually myself. It looks like it's in an interesting position of the sky right now, so it's kind of almost straight up overhead at this moment as I'm looking out the control room towards the telescope itself. So yeah, that was one of those targets that would require, I think, a lot more images to really bring out to the level that it should be. We have two good ones coming up now, however. The Cocoon Nebula, and I think we'll do the Elephant's Trunk right after that, which is really a spectacular nebula. So let's have a look at the Cocoon first. That's IC 5146. And yeah, looks interesting. So I always recommend, if you're watching this video, go look up these objects that we're looking at on the internet, and you'll find out a lot more information about them. And if you are getting into astronomy or into it for a short time, my recommendation is learn the night sky. Learn a little bit about where it is, especially if you have a little bit darker skies and you can see more stars. Certainly in the wintertime it becomes a little more easy. I notice when I get up for work early in the morning now, I can look out my window, or when I step outside, I can actually see Orion. So that's also a sure sign that winter is coming. Alright, so this one actually I can see a little bit of. So we'll do 180 seconds on that one, on the Cocoon. The next one we're looking at is much more interesting, a lot more to see. But actually the Cocoon Nebula is pretty neat as well. The Ring Nebula is up a little earlier this evening. It's still up, probably, and visible. It's kind of a neat target to look at. But for that one, you really, if you want to get detail, my telescope is about equivalent to about 650, roughly 650 millimeters. If you had a bigger telescope, 1,000 or better. I used to have an actual 14-inch Celestron Edge HD, and that was a very, very large telescope that was great for planetary, but not so much for wide field stuff. The Gear 60 is great for wide field, and I think I'll do some imaging with that through the winter as well. The Gear 60 is not very good for planetary. The Rasa, you can do planetary with it. It's not the very best for it, but I've done some planetary, and I did, if you look at some of my other videos online, the solar eclipse we had. Of course, from Brampton we didn't get the full disk eclipse, but we did get, I think, about 85%, so that was kind of neat to see, and we did live broadcast that. So we got just a little over a minute to go here. And I see you all must be shy out there tonight. I'm seeing messages, but they're not showing up for some reason on my YouTube here. For some reason, I don't know why. I've got it set to show all messages. Interesting. So those who have sent a message, oh, there we go, now I see one. Sorry I missed you, David, if you're not there anymore, but good evening and thank you for coming by. So thanks, David, for dropping in. Now I see the message. Not sure why it wasn't working before. However, usually I don't give a lot of notice when we're going to be live, but I'm going to try to do better with that so that people actually know when we are live. Okay, well, I'm glad you can see me, David. Means my camera is working. LOL. So now I'm seeing messages, so that's good. Well, I've seen David's message anyway. So here is the Cocoon Nebula. We'll zoom in on that a little bit. Again, this is a single image, so always keep in mind if you're doing processing and stacking of images, taking multiple exposures, you're going to get a far better image than you're getting here on the screen. Plus, again, as I say, YouTube compresses video, so it's sometimes a little bit difficult to get across on the screen what I see on my computer screen is the quality wise, that is. So that's the Cocoon. Alright, so now we're going to have a look at the elephant trunk, and if you've never seen this one, you'll see why it's called the elephant trunk. It is certainly in my top targets of interest. So the telescope's going to slew over to the elephant. Okay, so it has acquired the target and nothing on the screen at this point, but we will do again 180-second exposure and see what we get from that. It should be actually a pretty darn good image. And I really do like this nebula. There's a few nebula that are my favorites, and this is definitely one of them. Just want to see, oops, let's have a look. The dumbbell, yeah, the dumbbell will be coming up next, I think. The Dumbbell Nebula, and that's M27. That's another favorite one of mine to image. I see one here called the Loch Ness Nebula. I'm always fascinated by some of the names on these nebulas, like Star Lizard Cluster, Drunken Lizard Cluster. Good grief. That could be an interesting one. I'm not sure who might have been drinking what when they named that one. Alright, so back to our elephant trunk. Got just under a minute. And I do want to stop stop. No, I do want to thank everybody who's come on tonight and is watching. Thank you, David, and anyone else who hasn't messaged me but is out there watching. It really is appreciated, and nice to have some company here. Here we go, coming up on 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3. It's like the Starlink launch there today. Okay, so that is a bit of a ta-da. So that's on the telescope. So yeah, there we go. That's kind of zoomed out. So again, this is pretty high up in the sky right now. So we're sort of the northeast. So its position, it's kind of upside down. But if you were to look, excuse me, if you were to look here, you would see the elephant's trunk. So if you could turn your head around a bit, you would see that it looks like the elephant's head and the trunk going down this way. This is a pretty big area of nebulosity. Let's see if we can darken that up again. There we go. So you can start to see the outline of the elephant trunk here, and some other things going on in the background. And if we hit annotate, it basically gives you the IC number. So that's the elephant trunk. I'm not sure how well that comes out on the screen. Yeah, David, the dumbbell is really an awesome target. I love to get it. And this time of year is really, as the sky gets better, the best time. And yes, David, it certainly can be a lonely hobby at times. However, I think it's a rewarding one, to be sure. Certainly I wish I had more time to catch up on my processing. I've got so much data right now that I gathered when I did have time to get out over the summer, and I haven't actually processed any of it yet. So a couple of nights I was really disappointed that I didn't get a chance on the clear nights this week to get out and get more data. But I enjoy doing this outreach side of things as well, and I hope more and more people will tune in and learn about the night sky and get into astronomy. It can definitely be a challenge at times. I'm fortunate that I have the actual observatory, so I'm sitting in a warm room here with a computer, 2 computers in the control room, and if it's too hot I've got a fan going, or if it's too cold I've got a heated room here that I can use and isolate myself from the telescope, which is in another room just outside of here. Not everybody has that. It's a roll-off roof observatory, so that means the roof literally rolls off to the side, and I'm able to get clear sky. I used to have a sky pod, which was great. I did love the pod, but I found it was difficult to get as much sky as I wanted to get. It did have the ability to roll the dome off the roof, but that never worked particularly well for me. Wayne Parker, who is the developer of the pod, makes a spectacular product, just I found the roll-off in my situation was probably the better way to go. And I've been happy with it. I had a gentleman by the name of Gordon who was also at the time, and I think still into astronomy. He was building the sheds, and I came across him online, and he came and basically prefabricated the whole thing, brought it down here in a big trailer, and installed it in a couple of days. And it's insulated. The only issue I ever had was, a pesky squirrel getting in and having babies in the top of my insulated roof, which I managed to capture the babies and give them back to mama. And now rigged it so no squirrels can get in, because they definitely have tried again, but we managed to be able to keep them out. So anyway, that's the elephant trunk. I'm pretty sure you've probably seen enough of that one. Looks not too bad. I'm looking at it on my phone here. But it's not too bad. Again, it depends on what screen you're looking at this on. I'm just looking at it on a phone. So, I mean, it looks actually pretty good to me. Alright, so let's move along here. We looked at the elephant trunk. We said we were going to look at the dumbbell, didn't we? Okay. So that would be you. And let's have a look at the dumbbell. It's a little past meridian now. And fortunately, we still have pretty clear skies as we're coming up about 9:40 here in Ontario. So the telescope had to flip right to the other side of the meridian. So I'm using hardware called an ASI Air. There are similar softwares out there. Premalucci makes one. I think it's called the Eagle, which some people claim is better, and Pegasus, I think, have come out with their version as well of the hardware. Oh, there we go. And I know there's some other ones out there. They're basically Raspberry Pi boxes, as is the ASI Air. I like the ASI Air because it works with, I have pretty well all my gear, including my camera, is ZWO ASI stuff, so it all kind of works together. There's another software out there called Nina, which is free software you can get. I hear it's very, very good. I've looked at it a few times, and it just is literally not my cup of tea at the moment. Maybe I'll try it later on a little more. I did play with it a bit, but I find it's a little bit like the processing software PixInsight. You can get very deep with it, and probably deeper than I need to do for the research and work I do, and for my imaging. But you never know. Maybe I'll get back to it again at some point. Anyway, this is actually, for a single image, not too bad at all. We're looking at it there, and again, it's a bit of a noisy image because, well, frankly, it's just a single image and haven't done any processing or anything to it. So let's try 60 seconds on this one because it is a pretty bright target. I always find my goal with this particular nebula is to try to find the white dwarf in the center. So I am using a Celestron Rasa 11-inch for a telescope, David. The camera is a ZWO 2600 MC Color Pro camera. And the mount is the R8 mount. It's a little bit of an older mount, but it really is a solid mount. I've never seen one or had one that tracked as well, and I've had the EQ mounts and a few other different types of mounts, but this one is rock solid. It is on a pier, which is of course mounted into the ground in the observatory, but it works really, really well the whole as a system. I've got an EAF focuser, which on the main telescope, and I've got an EAF focuser on the guide scope, the Gear 60 that I'm using as well. But I do have to say, the EAF I have on the main scope it's an older EAF, and I don't find it works as well as the newer EAF that I have on the Gear 60. So, and I am looking at a different focuser, even though it's not a ZWO product that actually Steve has out at Ontario Telescope that is a little, well, actually I think a lot more accurate for focusing and getting proper focus. I end up, I think half the time with this older EAF, I end up going out and manually turning it to focus and running in and out, back in from inside to outside and outside to inside, checking the focus to get the stars rounded enough that they're not bloated for imaging. I find the old EAF doesn't do that, although I did update the firmware today, so we'll see how that works out next time. Where are you located there, David? So yeah, anyway, this is a better image. And you can see, yeah, I don't know if you can see it or not. I can see the white dwarf in the very, very center here. And this is kind of what we may have end up in our solar system at the end of the sun's life. Well, we'll have, definitely it'll become a white dwarf, but a nebula that would look something like this with our sun in the center. It's really easy to blow this target out, and just if you're doing too long exposure. So if I were actually imaging this to make a final image, I would stack a lot of these images together and do short exposures, and would probably get a pretty good image out of it. Good grief, Texas. Oh my God, lucky you. I've actually been considering sending a scope down to Texas to Starfront. But I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence about it because, frankly, I like being with my telescope. I like being out here in the observatory, even in the dead of winter here in Canada. Although I'm in a pretty large city, surrounded by larger cities, Mississauga to the south and Toronto just to the east, and Orangeville and the town of Orangeville to the north. But so I get a massive amount of light pollution. But there's something about being out in the observatory and doing the imaging. Uh, it just makes it, to me, more interesting. Though I certainly, Bortle 2 skies. Yeah. For me to get Bortle 2 skies, it'd be about an 8-hour trip. So, not so much. But who knows? Maybe I'll send something down there one of these days when I retire or something like that. So, and but until then, I think I'll just be happy to sit out here with my equipment and enjoy the night sky. So okay, so that was M27. This Lion Nebula, don't know about that one. Gecko Nebula, Loch Ness Nebula, I don't know about that. The Ghost Nebula, there's a few LBNs, the Arrowhead Cluster. There's a group of galaxies there. The Little Cocoon, the Cave Nebula. That one could be interesting. It's a little lower on my horizon. And then we have the Lagoon Nebula. So let's... do we want to have a look at the Cave Nebula? Maybe. Sure, let's have a look at the Cave Nebula. Yeah, like I said, David, I enjoy being out with my equipment, and yeah, the mosquitoes can be a little bit buggy, but I can close the door in the control room here if I really need to do it, and shut the bugs out. Although not many bugs this time of year. It's definitely cooler at night. It's about 11 degrees Celsius here, which is about 54 degrees, 52 degrees, something like that. So it's a little bit cooler, but again, I kind of enjoy it. Yeah, the Rasa is lightning quick, actually. Let's do 120 seconds on this guy. I really, I do like the Rasa. Again, in light polluted skies, you have to be a little bit careful with it in terms of the light it's gathering. But short exposures, I don't know. A lot of people argue that you should just do short exposures, like, do 1,010-second exposures. I mean, to me, that kind of doesn't make sense. But again, I've seen images done with it, and some of the big YouTubers online have said, oh, they swear by the shorter images, or shorter exposures, I should say. Yeah, I guess. In certain targets, certainly you have to do shorter images if you're imaging, M42 or Orion, if you don't want to blow out the core. But again, it depends on everybody. When it comes to astrophotography, I mean, I do science research as well, which is a different egg altogether. But for just imaging, really it's all about what you like for yourself. what you see in the image and what you want in the image. So if it looks good to you, then you know what? That's really all that matters. Some of the first images I ever took in astrophotography just were awful. I mean, when I look back at them today, I go, oh my gosh. But at the time, I was like, well, gee, that's darn cool. But in this, if you do this as a hobby or even professionally, as some people do, you know what? You're going to develop skills in processing and learn lots of lots of tricks, and making it easier and making better images. Well, that's cool. That came out all right. So that's 120 seconds. And let's see. I always like to hit annotate because then I can see if there's anything hiding in the background there that I may have missed. In this case, there is not. Sometimes you'll see galaxies and other things in the image that aren't immediately visible. So that was the Cave Nebula, and we have the Lobster Claw, which is also in the northeast at about 61 degrees. So still fairly high up. What else have we got here? The Bubble Nebula. Ah, the bubble. I like the Bubble Nebula, actually. So let's have a look at the Bubble Nebula. I love that the updated version, oh, the bubble's actually pretty close to the cave. I like the fact that in the ASI software, the updated software, even the older software, it gives you just a host of targets to point at an image if you want to. So again, I have some planetary software here as well. Planetarium software, I should say. But it's kind of neat that you can do it again with the ASI software all in one. So I can actually even see a bit of the bubble here, just with a 5-second exposure that this does in the preview image. So let's do a 2-minute exposure and see what we get. Yeah, definitely, as David says, astrophotography can be like art. It's whatever you feel your image should be when you process it. I've seen some images that I would not have done it that way myself, but the person who did the imaging liked it and felt it was what they wanted to visualize in the image. So I'm like, hey, that's great. There's a bunch of color palettes you can use as well. There's the Hubble palette, HOO, SHO, all these different color palettes. The Hubble palette is the one that they use frequently for images for the Hubble telescope. If you saw that picture of the Eagle Nebula, also known as the Pillars of Creation, that they named it, from one of the early Hubble images, it doesn't really look like that, but they made it look very beautiful. I mean, this is a stunning image. Okay, so we're getting an image of the bubble. Whoa, that came out really good. I like that one. For a single image, pretty darn good. So you can see the bubble in there. Yeah, absolutely. With filters, you can create just about anything, as David says here in his message. Uh, for me, to be honest, I like the natural colors that hydrogen alpha filters bring out, and O2 filters, and some of the other filters out there. Some of the broadband filters, like NBZ, have. I have used the L Extreme filter in the past, the L Pro, and some of the others made by Optilong. All good filters, but again, you have to be careful with filters because I find quality control can be a bit of an issue. So not all filters are created equal. There are some decent lower cost filters and some extremely expensive filters as well that you can get. So I tell people who are getting started, if they are going, to be honest, I don't recommend going mono. I used to shoot mono. It's a lot of work, a lot of time, and for what I'm doing in my work, I really don't need it at this point anyway, though people will argue that you get better quality out of mono and then using filters on top of it, and I can't argue that one way or the other. I think probably you do to some degree, but it's not for everyone. If you're standing outside in the middle of winter and you aren't lucky enough to have an observatory or someplace you can shelter yourself, and certainly up here in Canada, maybe if you're in Florida it's not too bad, or down in sunny Texas there, but it definitely can be a challenge. And I find a lot of people who get started in astronomy end up quitting it just because of the fact that it's a lot of time and work. And I guess the smart telescopes have kind of taken that element out of it. If you just want to get some quick images and post them to the internet, quality wise, I've seen some pretty high quality images from these smart telescopes, certainly in the wide field images. But yeah, everybody has to get started somewhere, and if it's easy to use and the setup time, you don't have to worry about dragging a scope out and polar aligning because it does it all itself. Even with this scope initially, with I set up, fortunately I haven't had to mess with the polar alignment for a long time. But when I was actually dragging a scope out into my yard, had to get all the polar alignment done and get that as accurate as possible, make sure all the power's connected, and do this and that, and get the camera set up, the guiding set up, and lo and behold, you look up and the clouds have rolled in, and well, that's your night. Right? So then you have to take it all again, pack it all up, put it inside. So with the smart telescopes, if the weather changes or the clouds roll in unexpectedly or even expectedly, you're going to get more imaging done. They're not visual telescopes, to be sure. They're designed just for imaging. But you know what? If you're getting what you want out of it, great on you. There are advantages, there are arguments, of course. I tell people, sometimes don't go to cloudy nights, which is a forum for astrophotography and imaging and visual photography and all kinds of other sort of astronomy related subjects. And you'll hear endless arguments on these forums, and sometimes it just gets too much because people get angry, and I'm like, gosh, guys, why are you getting angry over, you know, a picture of the Bubble Nebula, really, or how you got it? Yeah, natural colors to me are the best, and I prefer to go with more of a natural palette for what's actually out there and what it would look like. Of course, if you were to look at this through a telescope, it would look like a gray fuzzy, because our eyes are not capable of seeing in those wavelengths for hydrogen alpha and some of the other gases that are out there. So that's why you do astrophotography, to actually see some really cool structure inside of these nebulas, like the bubble here coming out, right? All right, so that's the bubble, and we're coming up on 10:04 here where I am anyway. So we'll go for a little longer tonight. And oops, going the wrong way here. What else have we got? The cat's eye. The cat's eye is starting to down to 58 degrees, still visible. It's been a while since I took an image of this, actually. So I'm not sure, and the last time I did it, it was with a 14-inch Celestron telescope. So I'm not sure what I'll get with the Rasa, so let's find out. Just taking myself out of the equation here for a minute, so you don't have to see me drinking my Diet Coke every 2 minutes. Okay, so where my telescope looking right now, there is a house behind me. So I'm not sure if I've quite cleared. It looks like I've cleared the roof of the house. So we'll know in a second here. Okay, so I can see it. Not very well, mind you. So let's do a 2-minute exposure on that one. And see what we get out of it. Yeah, we did the Veil Nebula a little earlier. It was actually pretty good. We did the Cygnus loop, which with this telescope, obviously you're not getting the whole Cygnus loop. You'd need a bit wider, so I would probably end up doing that on like the Gear 60 or something like that. Yeah, the cat's eye with the Rasa would be a fairly small target. As I said, I used to have the 14-inch Celestron till it had a very unfortunate drop. It's a long story, but ended up smashing it, and repair on it was just way too much. Although I do miss that telescope for these really distant targets. But there were disadvantages to that telescope as well. I mean, it was at f10. It had a tremendous, I think, 30, 40 millimeter on it, but just distortion in the sky, any little thing, with the amount of light that it would gather, was problematic. And you would be zoomed into everything, which for distance targets like this, as you can see, at 120 seconds, you can see a little more. I'm tempted to go a little longer than that because I kind of like that. It is, you can sort of see the beginnings of the outline around it and the cat's eye itself. And if I were to do a longer exposure, plus also this is on a screen, the resolution on this in the final image would be 6248 by 4176, which is pretty big image. I'm actually going to go a little longer on this one. I'm going to go 3 minutes and see what I get out of that. Now this is actually the cat's eye. Although I would love to have a look at the alien spaceship as it comes closer. Sorry, I had to say that. There's one astrophysicist in particular that every interstellar object that seems to come into our solar system, he actually believes is some sort of alien spaceship. And I guess, hey, maybe the possibility is there. I personally, we get 26 views, nice. I personally struggle with the idea, having worked in the sciences for many years, that there have been aliens here. I've seen all kinds of things in the sky, frankly, that I have difficulty explaining, but I can't say that they're unexplainable or that the only explanation is that it's little green men or aliens of any kind here. And I especially have a problem with them crashing their ships all the time. I mean, if these guys, or whatever they are, have the ability to travel throughout a galaxy, intergalactic distances, then why do their ships always crash when they get here? Or their probes, or whatever it is. You would think if they can navigate across the stars, that, going through Earth's atmosphere shouldn't be a big issue for them. However, that being said, nothing is impossible. So maybe someday some alien will prove me wrong and land in Central Park with a clear image of his spaceship, by the way, not these fuzzy gray images that we see all the time. Okay, so we're about to look at the cat's eye again here and see if we get a bit better resolution. Excuse me. I suspect to get better resolution, I would definitely have to stack a lot of images together to get a better image of this particular target. And, not really. So yeah, definitely this is one of those targets that you would be stacking a lot of images together because it is a pretty faint target. It is here in the center, as you can see, and you can see some of the almost spoke-like entrails coming out of it. So yeah, it could be done, and you would get a better image, but it would require stacking quite a few images together and a lot of post-processing to get that image down to where you want it to. But hey, for a single 2-minute or 3-minute image. Not shabby. Alright, let's move down the big list here and see what else we have. Ah, the rosette. Well, this is the little rosette. This is actually a nice target. So this is SH2 170, the little rosette. It is still, again, kind of in the same area in the northeast. So the scope is kind of shifting around a little bit, or slewing as we call it. Yeah, I see you guys are out there talking a little bit about AI, and yeah, I totally agree. And one of the things that kind of concerns me a little bit is I'm seeing so much AI out there for post-processing of images now. I mean, yeah, I suppose it can be definitely helpful for people, who, again, who don't want to get too deep into it, but at what point does it become AI's interpretation of your image as opposed to you actually creating that image utilizing the tools in the software, right? If AI is doing it, it's really not your interpretation. And I mean, a lot of this astrophotography is literally art. I mean, some of the images I've seen at our Star Fest we had up here in August were spectacular. I mean, people who put literally hundreds and hundreds of hours into some of these images. So those are obviously a lot of time and love and work that goes into it. But again, arguably, I think you can use AI for people who just want a quick image and not have to go through the learning curve. And if you use Insight, there is definitely a learning curve. There are simpler softwares out there. Do they have all of the tools that you need or would want? Some of them do, some don't. I know people who just process in Photoshop. They don't use PixInsight at all, or any other software. So I like to see images that people have done with their own visions of what they wanted to see in the image. I mean, if you look at actual scientific imaging, not the pretty promotional pictures that NASA sends out, but actual images for scientific use, for the most part, they're pretty uninteresting to the normal eye because they're not showing that almost art-like type image. It's there and it's showing specific data, and that could be monochrome data. It could look like streaky stars in the sky. People used to get mad about the spikes on the stars in the new James Webb Space Telescope, and you'd see people online, oh, look how that looks terrible. It's got all these spikies on the stars. Stars don't have spikes like that. Okay, well, yeah, no, they don't. But, you know, these are some of them made for promotional purposes, these images, and enhanced and colorized. but other images that you would see that are being used for scientific data do not look anything like what they put out for human and public consumption. Okay, that actually came out not too bad. Although it is a little more faded. Where's the telescope looking? Yeah, it's kind of looking over the top of a tree in my neighbor's yard, or toward the top of a tree. And that's a 180-second image, so I can zoom into a bit here. Yeah, so it's... I think there may be some high cloud. Ah, yes, it is actually. There's a little bit of high cloud moving into my sky. So I'm getting a little bit of distortion there. Just going to run out and see how much high cloud is moving in. Hang on. Yeah, so there's a little bit of high thin cloud up in that part of the sky, so it's kind of washed this image out a little bit, because this target typically looks much better than that. But this is the little Rosette Nebula. There is a large Rosette Nebula as well, which I don't think is visible yet. Let's see what else we have here for tonight. These are smaller. The Pac-Man Nebula. Pac-Man is getting a little bit low, but I think, where is it? Northeast. Yeah, northeast is kind of in tree zone with my neighbor, but let's see if we can get it. Oh, yeah, I think we're clipping the top of the tree here. So we'll move on to another target, unfortunately. I keep hoping my neighbor will cut down that tree, but he has said maybe. He did cut one tree that was a big pain to me for polar alignment. But Andromeda, where is he? Andromeda's in the east. It's only 50 degrees. It's not going to reach its peak till 2 a.m. I think that would probably be in the tree as well. And the reason they call it, by the way, Andromeda Nebula is because when it was first discovered, people thought it was a nebula and did not know it was a galaxy until Mr. Hubble came along and showed that it actually was not a nebula within our own galaxy, but actually a galaxy on its own. And it's a very large galaxy as well. And the bad news is we are on a collision course with Nebula, with Andromeda, I should say. And although I've heard recently in some scientific papers that we may not collide with Andromeda completely. So we'll see. Well, we won't see. We won't be here because it's still 2 million light years away. And it's going to be a long time before that actually happens. What else have we got here? Now there we go. Okay, kind of. 50 degrees, and it is, we missed its peak already, which is M92, a globular cluster. And who says globular or globular? To me, it's always been globular because it's around, so like a globe. But I guess it could be a glob. Who knows? So M92, where are we? 50 degrees in the west, but sinking rapidly. Well, let's have a quick look, see where it is. Yeah, I kind of go with globular as well, not globular. Although I guess, as I say, you could consider it a glob. To each his own, I guess. So we'll see very quickly here if this target... Yeah, we got it. So we'll do not 180 seconds on that one. I think we can get away with 1 minute on that one. So this is M92. The two main clusters are M13, although there's lots of globular clusters out there. The two most popular ones, or probably well-known ones, are M92 and M13, the Hercules cluster, which is a bigger cluster. And with my 14-inch that I used to have, was just amazing to look at because it was really zoomed in. But finding focus was a bit of a challenge. There we go. That's a much better image. So you can see globular cluster is a cluster of stars in sort of a globe shape, or glob. And you can see toward the center of the cluster is where the main concentration of stars are. And there are literally probably hundreds of thousands to millions of stars congregated together to form that central core. Globular clusters have a tendency to be within our galaxy, and some of them are fairly close by in cosmic terms. Others can be quite far away. But these clusters are great to image. You can do some fantastic imaging with them. You do have to be careful because of a lot of them have very bright cores, not to do too long an exposure on them. I can zoom back on that a bit and in. So yeah, there's the bright core and there's the cluster itself. And if we annotate that, oh look. So that's why I like to annotate the images. Sometimes you see something that you didn't know was there or unexpected. So down just to the left corner, we have NGC 6332, which is a galaxy. It's quite faint because this is a short exposure, only 60 seconds. Let's do a little longer. Let's do 120 and see if we can bring that galaxy out a little more. I think I hear some squirrels moving around outside. Although I thought they'd all be tucked in and sleeping by now. Yeah, yes, it is. Either way, it's a great object to look at. And you can also see this visually through a telescope. And it tends to be a little fuzzy visually through a telescope, but it depends on the telescope you're using and the eyepiece. Eyepieces, like filters, not all are created equally. And if you have a cheap and not so good eyepiece, then you're not going to get as clear visual image as you would with a better eyepiece. So we'll probably go for a little bit longer tonight, and then we'll call it an evening. Yeah, there's a lot of galaxies in the background, for sure. And there we go. Well, that didn't really bring it out much more. We could focus on that. It's a pretty distant galaxy. But we did bring out a little more detail. Yeah, it did come out a little more detail there. You can kind of see it down here in the corner. Alright, so that was M92. Though I'm sure it's quite small, I'd be almost curious to see why they call it the Superman galaxy. I can't imagine. Maybe it looks like an S. And there's a lot of open clusters as well, as we can see. Open clusters are, of course, the opposite of globular clusters. They're more spread out, and the example, excuse me, of an open cluster would be like C8 here. You see that? That's an open cluster. We have the Shrimp Nebula. Well, that's an interesting one. And I can see why they call it the Shrimp Nebula, because as I look at the image they show here, it definitely does look like a shrimp. This one is getting lower on my horizon. It's at 49 degrees right now. In the northeast, which would probably be in my neighbor's tree, so we won't bother with that. The Fuzzy Butterfly cluster. The Lawnmower cluster. Some interesting ones there. NGC 6781 Snow Globe Nebula, or the Ghost of the Moon Nebula. Okay, well, that kind of looks interesting. It's at 45 degrees southwest. Not sure if I'll be able to see that one or not. We'll have a look. Yeah, it should be visible. right now I'd love to image the Eagle Nebula, but it's just below the wall of my observatory. It's a very hard target for me to get to. I've considered putting an extension on my pier so that I can get the scope up a little bit higher so that I can get targets in that area. I could do it from outside, but also there's a street lamp literally sitting in that part of the sky. Oops, looks like we had a bit of a guiding issue there because I've got skewy stars. We may have lost guiding on it, I think. Oh, well, let's see. No, we're still guiding. Not sure what went funky there. It happens once in a while, so we'll take an image of it, a 2-minute image, and see if it clears that up. Sometimes it takes the image, I guess, before the mount has completely stopped. I think that may have been what happened here, because this is a very reliable mount and guiding is actually pretty good. So we can see some color coming out here. I think the next time I'll probably turn the gain up a little higher. I've got it kind of on the Unity setting right now, which is on this software 100. I have shot even higher, considerably higher, up into 200 plus. Thank you, David, for tuning in. I hope to see you again online when we're out here. And again, I appreciate everybody who has stopped by and has had a look at the beautiful night skies with us. So we're about to hopefully get a cleaner image from this than the last one. Oh yeah, that's much better. Let's see if we can see anything else in there. Nope. So this is the Ghost of the Moon. So the Ghost of the Moon is a planetary nebula. They call them planetary nebulas simply because they were thought to be planets in the good old bad old days of astronomy. And of course now we know they're actually not planets. So that's with a 2-minute exposure. And I think definitely as I've gone through some of these targets tonight, I'm going to go back and do actual full image sessions on some of these, like this target. I think this would be a really neat target to actually get a full session on and process. And thank you, David, for subscribing to the channel. It really is appreciated. And I hope you have some good sunny, clear skies down in Texas. And of course some dark, clear skies at night. Okay, so that actually was a kind of neat target. I like that one. And I can see why they call it the ghost of the moon. It does kind of look a little bit like the moon in the center here. And I would like to, I think, come back to this for sure and do a full session on it and process it and be able to view it full dimensions on the screen. So I think what we're going to do is turn our gain up a little bit. Let's actually shoot that up to 200. And we're going to shoot that target again with a 200 gain, just out of curiosity. So you'll see we're going to look at some targets now with a higher gain. We cranked it up from 100 to 200, so that may give us, more detail, or it should give us more detail on the images. Can do that tonight because it is still quite dark, obviously with no moon out, so that will give us the ability to be able to move the gain up without the light pollution or light from the moon causing washout of the image. Our cooler is at 60%, so I think I'll try to cool down the camera a little more. Let's try to go to -20 and see if we can get even more noise. The lower the temperature, the more noise gets knocked out of the image. Getting the camera cooled to -20 in the winter months is not an issue. In the summer, really sometimes you can only get down to like -5, -10. Yeah, so a little more gain. Yeah, it did improve the image a little bit on that one. Get a little more of the nebulosity around here. Okay, so what else do we have here? The little Sombrero Galaxy is at 46 degrees in the southeast. That's a maybe. Let's see. It's at its peak at 122 this morning. I will be sleeping at 122 this morning, I hope. Let's see where that takes us. So as I look out at the telescope through my window here, it looks like it's going to be pointing in the window of the bedroom of my house. So that probably isn't going to work. Yeah, it's too low, and we'll see that momentarily here when it pops up. So we'll move along to another target. I figured that was going to be too low, but we might get a piece of it. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it just cleared the roof of my house. We will see. We'll take a 2-minute shot and see what we get out of this. Guiding is looking pretty good. And yeah, we're showing some high clouds and haze now at about 13% coverage, so we will be wrapping this up soon. I'm not sure what the weather's supposed to be like tomorrow. Probably not great. We'll find out a little later. But yeah, I'm seeing now some high cloud moving in, and that'll take away from the quality of the images by quite a bit. But it was great to be out with you guys again tonight, and everybody who might tune into the video later on. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. And again, I'd like to mention, if you could like and subscribe to the channel, like the videos and subscribe to the channel, that would be fantastic. It would be a big help. And we can keep doing this and look at the wonders of the night sky. I like doing outreach and educating people a little bit about what's out there. And we do have a potential comet, well, not potential, but, well, I guess it's potential if the sun doesn't tear it apart. Comet coming around early October, and we may be able to have a look at that. Yeah, so there it is. Yeah, not as good as it would be with a large telescope. You can see the galaxy here. And we'll just annotate it, and there it is, C43 NGC 7814. There are definitely galaxies like Andromeda that we can get that are much more interesting to look at. But so we won't dwell too much on that. As we get down our list here, the Fish Head Nebula. So the Fish Head is also, where is it? At 44 degrees. So it is getting down at 30 degrees, 39 degrees northeast. That may be in my tree. It's an emission nebula, which means it's being lit up by the energy from stars. I don't know. We may be able to get this one. Let's see. If not, we're going to go back to one of the higher targets in the sky. Well, the target's centered. We'll see what's there. Yeah. So we're right into clouds there, you can see. clearly, and I think some of my neighbor's tree. So that one didn't work out too well. And, well, that's one of the other things you have to put up with, unless you have a big wide open field or a property big enough in order to avoid things like this. So here's probably, again, I'm not sure we'll get this one. It's at 40 degrees northeast, possibly not. But for another night would be really great. It's the Heart Nebula. Yeah, it's going to be right in the same spot, pretty much. So I don't think we're going to get anything out of that. So between these high clouds that are moving in, and the high cloud and haze, or high cloud and haze, yeah, it's sky quality definitely dipped in this area of the sky anyway. And we'll see in a second, but I'm guessing it's going to be more of the same, and yes, it is. So for a final target, let's see if we can find something in the sky that's not covered by cloud yet. Oh, there's some good targets here that are just kind of low and won't be up till just before dawn. Triangulum Galaxy is low. It's in the east. We wouldn't be able to get that. We may have to go back up to the top of the list for a final image for the night. Saturn Nebula, that's way too low. Yeah, we're getting into things now that are way too low, so we're gonna go back up to the top of our list for the grand finale for the night, for some things that are still pretty high up in the sky. And now that we have the gain up, we might get a better image. Later on in the year, we'll be able to get our friend Orion. The lobster claw is still pretty high up there. Did we do the lobster claw? I don't think we did, actually. We did the cave nebula. And the lobster claw is right up there, so unless the cloud is right overhead, which it may be by this point, if it is, that will be our night. Welcome to astronomy. It's just short of 11 p.m. But it was a great night. I enjoyed being out again. It's been a long time since I've been able to get online. Oh, well, we have 1,512 stars in the image, so that may mean we have a clear sky in this part of the sky anyway. Ooh, 1,600 on the reading, and we're centered, and we have a lot of stars. So we should get a decent image out of this. This will be our last one for the night. We are at 200. I think I'll do a 3-minute exposure, and we'll see what we get out of it. So yeah, this part of the sky is showing as clear, so we should get a decent image out of this. And this is the lobster claw. And we did get down to minus 16.8 with the cooler operating at 100%. So the outside temperature is about 11 degrees Celsius. So that would probably be the it would be the maximum that we can get the cooler down to at this point. And the one thing we didn't get is a lot of satellites passing through tonight, so that's kind of cool. So we didn't get those streaky lines that we normally get. How do we do tonight? Well, we did actually pretty good. So we had 31 views tonight, and people tuned in for a little while, which is great. We had the highest viewership around 9 to till about now. Actually dropped off a bit. So these statistics are really important. It helps us to get known better out in YouTube. We got a couple of likes there, so I thank people who did that. And we had a great connection all night on the internet, so that was good as well. And there we have it. There you go, the lobster claw. Can probably enhance that a wee bit. Nope, that didn't do it. We can come down a little bit more. Bring that up a little bit more. That's a little too much. I wish you could kind of manually do this with an arrow key so that it's a little easier to manipulate the histogram. No. I'll just do there. So that is the lobster claw, and I can see why. It does kind of look like a lobster claw. So once again, thank you everyone. I think we're going to close it out for tonight, and hopefully we will see you again online in the very near future. And as I say, if you're watching this video or parts of the video later on YouTube, definitely give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you could. I would appreciate it. And everybody have a great night, and we will talk to you very soon and see you among the stars. Good night, everyone.